Alex, one of the criticisms of virtual meetings that I've heard a lot is people saying they can't get the levels of engagement from people, on the call, whether it's an internal meeting or a customer meeting. So, engagement levels. What are some of your top tips around, getting the participants of the meeting engaged, Alex?
Yes, it's a really good point, and you're right. The reputation for virtual meetings is so often that it's a very much a one way thing rather than something that's really interactive. And particularly when we start to include multiple people, and that's where it becomes more challenging, I think. The key thing to remember is that a virtual meeting is not a physical meeting done virtually. You need to compensate. You've got to take some ownership if you're running that meeting. You can't control what people do. That's the challenge around this. And you can't do that in a physical environment, even less so in a virtual environment, because they are physically remote from your location. So I think a good way of thinking about this is that you've got to give them a reason to listen. You've got to motivate them to listen. And there are a number of ways you can do that. And one thing that I think is really important is what is so often a dead time right at the beginning of a meeting. If you've got a meeting with multiple people and you're waiting for them to arrive, there's often a few people who arrive early, there's a few people that arrive a little bit late. Factor that into your timing, be there early yourself, and I call it the golden 10 minutes, around the top of an hour. Use that time to engage people, get talking to them about either something relevant to the topic or relevant to that group, something that's in the moment and relevant to what's going on for that group. Get people talking, and as people come in, you're welcoming them into that mix, but also you have a theme for a conversation going. So number one, the golden 10 minutes. Number two, get people doing stuff regularly. If you're in a meeting for 90 minutes or an hour or whatever the time might be, that's a long time. Make sure that you've got things happening regularly. So maybe every 3 to 4 minutes, something happening using multiple sources of input, like chat or like virtual whiteboards or virtual flip chart tools, for example. Get things happening regularly, and get things happening often, with people sharing back information and ideas on a regular basis. Keep your energy levels up yourself. That means that you need to be stood up and able to project to a high level to make sure that you are really connecting with those people in an engaging and energetic way. There's a couple other practical things, like making sure that people have their webcams on and their microphones off, unless they're actually going to say something, to keep that noise, that unwanted noise, out of that meeting room. And making sure that also, once you've set all of that in place, that you really get the fact that you can control what you can control, but then you need to let the rest go, because you cannot control what's happening for that person in that space at the time. You can only motivate them to want to be part of that meeting. So lots of it's around motivation, but thinking about your responsibility in getting that engagement going.
So it's interesting, isn't it, Alex? You mentioned lots of different things here, and I'm guessing that a lot of people listening will be thinking this sounds very alien to a meeting that I've experienced in perhaps my business. I think there's just some reassurance here. A lot of the things you've mentioned, we've tried, and some of the feedback that we get is it can be a very different and much more experiential, experience for people on the meeting. So I guess the message here is, listen to some of those top tips that you gave, but have a go. Stand out and be different.
Yeah, you don't have to do all of it right off the cuff. Start to integrate some of these things just as a matter of what you do, or as a matter of course, and you'll start to see a difference immediately.